Hi, hi, blessings. Welcome, 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 welcome. Uh, there, now I'm not so blurry. Yeah. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Blessings. Happy Monday. Happy full moon. Happy full moon. Happy full moon. Oh my goddess, how are you doing today, beloved one? It's wonderful to be back here with you. I think I've been doing these lives for about 2 months now in a row, and I've just been really appreciating this consistent connection with all of you, whether you join me live or on the replay. And if you join me live, you get, to connect with me, to chat with me, to ask me questions. And at the end of, getting all the messages for the day and the week and announcements and things, if you're interested, you get a personal card for the day or the week or clarity on the questions. So join me live because it's a really great time to connect with me and ask me questions right here live, right? And more than likely the questions that you ask me, somebody else has the question on their heart and mind. And so, we support each other by using our voice and allowing ourselves to be seen. Speaking of using our voice, I've had this sore throat since Wednesday evening. I've been sharing a little bit, not as much, but I've been sharing a little bit in this group, more on my Facebook page, but still, just a little bit about what's been going on with me and just like the stress of the last few weeks with housing and some relationships in my life and just like the pain body. It's just all finally caught up to me. So I woke up today, my throat is still very sore, like it hurts to talk. But I've made a commitment to show up here, and I've got tea. I took a shower. The full moon today was at 12:47 a.m. PST. Wherever that moon sits for you, we're still in that orbit of the full moon. So I spent this rising, in meditation and prayer, like I usually do, just a little bit longer. And now here I am to share blessings and messages with you. So, announcements. Do I have any announcements today? No, I don't have announcements today. I'm going to keep this short and simple to preserve my voice because I have a whole bunch of meetings scheduled today that I cannot cancel. So, I'm showing up and I'm doing my best, and that's all we can do. And so this Gemini full moon is talking a lot about how, so Gemini is the energy of the air, of the mind. So it's the first air sign. So it's about how we communicate and speak of ourselves, right? Gemini is about communication. It's about socializing and the pursuit of intellectual stimulation, okay? Now, Gemini is also the sign of the twins, right? So it symbolizes our duality, our polarity, so to speak, right? Where the opposing ideas or concepts, shall we say, come together and dance together. And the full moon is about illumination, okay? Illumination and clarity. And so this Gemini full moon is bringing in clarity and illumination around how we communicate to ourselves, about the dual natures of ourselves, about our shadow and light aspects, right? Where we are still in resistance and denial about certain needs, certain boundaries, certain desires that we have in our life. I definitely had a moment last night where I just like sat down and had a good cry around some things that I've just been in denial of. And a lot of times we deny and we self-reject because we already have something in place that suffices, right? But just because something is sufficient, okay, just because something and or someone or a situation or a person in our life is meeting some of our needs, it doesn't mean that that's what we're worthy of, right? And this is where the deeper inner work of worthiness and value comes in around, okay, this is what I have, okay? I heard someone talk a few weeks ago about, what was going on in their life, and they said, I have potatoes on my plate, but I really want like garlic, rosemary potatoes, and I'm learning to just be okay with having potatoes over nothing at all. And that's a really great attitude to have to a certain point, right? Yet not when it limits us from receiving our highest worth, right? It's good to be grateful for what we have, and it's also important to continue aspiring and working towards our highest value and our highest worth. And so this Gemini full moon is really bringing that clarity into our lives of where we are accepting mediocrity because of a distorted perception around gratitude or around, non-attachment and so on and so forth. It's really forcing us to, it's not forcing us, it's not the right word. It's pushing us to reconcile. Okay, that's the better word. It's pushing us. It's creating the spaciousness of comfortability to accept the discomfort of our dual natures. Okay, so Anna Aria, yes, indeed, 100%. I'm glad you're resonating with that message. Okay, the sun comes out as the tarot, so I'm just going to pull some tarot cards around this Gemini full moon energy. The first card is the sun, right? When we embrace our dual natures, we tap back into our curiosity, right? Children, for example, we were talking about curiosity, so let's bring it down to an example of children. Children don't know the difference between black and white and Chinese and Mexican and, Buddhist and Christian and Sikh. They don't see differences. They just see beauty and love and laughter or whatever they're seeing, or pain or ignorance. Children are very direct. They can feel the energy, and they're not jaded, distorted by the perceptions and the conditions of society. And so when we accept our dual natures, our differences, our own challenges, then we tap back into the childlike curiosity of a child of like, oh, I'm going to be curious about these aspects of myself, these challenges of myself that do not allow me to fully express, right? Because the Gemini is the element of air. It's about expression and communication, right? But it's the first air sign, so it's about communicating ourselves. We cannot communicate to others about others in truth, in anchored sovereignty from a place of unconditional love until we have that for ourselves. We can only show up to the depth and capacity for others to the depth and capacity we show up for ourselves. And so the sun is here to say, yes, this is what the whole point of this pressurizing togetherness is all about, right? It might feel uncomfortable. It might feel like you're being forced into something that you don't want to be pushed into. Yet ultimately, it's just assisting you with bringing together these seeming opposites within self that that are in separation, because when you are in separation within self, you are in resistance within self. When you are in resistance within self, you're going to attract more resistance in your life. You're going to attract more dissonance in your life. Like, energy doesn't recognize between good, bad, evil, wrong, right? Energy is neutral. Right? It's how we apply that energy and the thought and the intention and the actions that we put behind energy that then determines the outcome that we receive. Because energy is just an exchange. It's just energy. The law of energy is that it can neither be created nor destroyed. It can be transformed. So we can transform it into love, or we can perpetuate the fear. Okay, so we're looking at Gemini full moon, and we are in Gemini full moon in the Sagittarius season. Now, the Sag season, the Sag is all about the adventure, the explorer. Sag is the third fire element, so it's our expression with the outer world. Sag is the adventurer, the philosopher, the seeker, the wanderer, right? All the Saggies that I know, my moon is in Sag myself, they have this core of curiosity. They just want to understand. They just want to know, almost to the point of appearing insensitive. Yet again, that is that perception. Is this person actually insensitive, or are they genuinely curious? Until I started studying astrology and learning about myself and learning about the different aspects of the chart, I would get called very insensitive, which would completely confuse me. I'm like, I'm one of the most sensitive people on earth that I have ever met. Like, it hurts me when I kill an ant, even though they're not in the right place. And we've had talks of like, all right, ants, you're going to walk right here to the compost. And if you walk anywhere else, you're going to die and it's going to be anticide, and we've talked about this. And for the most part, they respect my boundaries and they know their little lines to walk and go get their food in the compost, and they stay out of my pantries. But it still hurts me when I hurt an ant. And so for years I was like, why are people calling me insensitive when I'm genuinely just fucking curious? And then when I tapped into astrology and I tapped into like the energies of Sag, I was like, oh, that's what it is. Like my moon, the way I connect with my heart is through understanding, understanding. And so we're in this Sag season of just wanting to explore and expand and be curious. And I did a reading last week. It's on my YouTube channel. Reading for all 12 signs for the Sag season and what is awakening. Okay, what is awakening? There's a visionary that is awakening for all of us during the Sag season, and how that shows up for you varies. So I invite you to check that out, and I'll put the link to that in the description box once I'm done with the live. So we're in this energy of like curiosity and exploration. And we have this Gemini full moon of the mind really honing in on where we are being curious and how we are approaching curiosity. Hi, Francis. Thank you for being here. Anna, thank you so much for being live and sharing your feedback and comment. I love knowing that these messages resonate to you, because in my mind, I'm like, this all makes sense. And then I start talking, I'm like, do I make sense to anybody about myself? Yeah, I mean, curiosity is just like such an incredible place to be. And I always say that maturity is the meeting of knowledge, experience, and innocence, right? When we mature, we're able to look at our experiences, we're able to look at knowledge, and we're able to still have curiosity and stay open to life. Not allow ourselves to be quote unquote jaded or hardened by our experience. Not allow ourselves to get caught up in the egotistical box of, oh, I have these knowledge and I have these degrees, so I know this and that. No, staying curious. Okay, maybe I know something, but that's still my perspective of understanding, right? And so this Gemini full moon is really honing in our perspective of understanding and how we allow that to either continue the flow of human connection, of expansion through curiosity, or are we being narrow-minded in our myopia, right? And so again, this sun-moon polarity is an incredible time for inner expansion through the mirror of relating with another. Isn't that incredible? I mean, we are always being supported by life to expand and evolve. And it's up to us to either go with the flow or create more resistance, which is really just self-rejection, right? And this Gemini full moon is pushing us into deeper self-acceptance. There is this ladder from realization to acceptance. First, we have this realization about ourselves. Oh, we're having this awakening experience. We're having these realizations. And then we go into discovery. We go into exploration. Okay, we go into, maybe this is true. Maybe this isn't true. Maybe this isn't even my truth. Maybe this is some junk that I picked up that doesn't belong to me. Maybe it works for someone else, but it doesn't belong to me, right? And then we come into actualization. We start to apply our awareness and our discovery into our daily life, into practice. And then we tap into self-love, because we are applying our discovery and our awareness into daily life to discern for ourselves what is our truth. Now, there is an aspect to be mindful of within this sun-moon polarity that's going on right now. And that is that this sun-moon polarity is being squared by Saturn. Now, for those of you who don't understand astrological terms, square is like a boxing ring, okay? Square is like, you know, you're like, it's a box. You're in a box, right? What happens in a box? You're like stuck in there, and there might be tension and friction. Now, Saturn is about discipline, okay? Had to think for a moment, okay? So Saturn is about discipline, and discipline is our future self guiding us into the life of our dreams. That's how I choose to view discipline. Discipline is our higher self showing us the way and keeping us on point. Like, hey, you want to write that book, you want to be a world published author one day, or you want to have that house, or you want to have that healthy relationship, or whatever you want, right? Well, this is what you need to do. Are you going to stick to it, right? Discipline is just your higher self guiding you home. And Saturn rules discipline. Now, when the sun and moon polarity is being squared by Saturn, right, that can be a little challenge and that can create a little friction because we want to get out of the box with this Sag moon energy. With the Sag Sun, Gemini Moon energy. We want to get out of the box. We want to expand. We want to explore. We want to communicate. We want to talk. We want to share. We want to break free of our patterns and routines and inertia. But then we have Saturn there like, but you got to be disciplined, but you got to, do this. So it's really just important to recognize that around this time, you might be feeling like this, like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm also feeling like this, and I don't know what to do. So there's this a little bit of energy of tension in the air, but that's good, right? Because how are diamonds formed? Diamonds are formed in pressure. So allow yourself to feel that pressure and recognize that this is just your evolution. This is you being pushed out of your own stagnation and inertia, because we're just in this human experience, right? We are in these bodies and we can get caught up in the ego games and the drama and all of this human stuff. But like Anna is saying, we are fifth dimensional spiritual beings, one with the universe. Absolutely. We are spirits having this human experience. And the more we allow ourselves to tap into curiosity and expand our inner knowing through the relating of others, because the true growth happens in the mirror of another. When we're alone, it's easy. Of course, I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. Not that you ever do, right? But when we are in relating to another, even if it's just like a casual bum on the corner of the road, right? Just the mirror of another human brings up for us where we are in our power and in our truth, where we are operating from love, and where we are still in resistance and judgment. Okay, let's get another card for this Gemini full moon. Victory, Six of Wands. Yes, this is that movement forward away from our own dissonance. And we are going into the age of Aquarius, which is just like a whole other topic, right? But it's been coming up a lot because the victory, the movement forward happens when we do all this inner work and we take the time to sit in our meditation and write in our journal and do our affirmations and listen to Abraham Hicks and do our patterning, repatterning, all this stuff. We're doing all this work. But then when we are met in the mirror of another, that's when we see if we've truly grown and transcended certain habits, patterns, and belief systems, when our boundaries get tested and pushed, whether that's intentional or not. It's in our nature to push the edges, right? That's part of curiosity. It's about pushing the edges. I'm going to keep pushing. Yet with awareness, we can know when it's like, okay, you're like crossing boundaries and now you're just pushing growing edges, right? It's that thin line, and that's that Gemini energy. It's like that duality that dances, right? Shanna Lee Forrest, true growth happens in the mirror and of another. Yes, absolutely. That's why in Buddhism, and I practice a lot of Zen Buddhism in my personal spiritual practices, they say, you go to the mountains to receive the teachings, but you come into the city to do the Sangha. The Dharma is in the mountains, the wisdom is in the mountains, but the Sangha, the practice is in the city. Okay? The Sangha is in the city. The Sangha, the practice, is in the way we go about our everyday lives. Can we allow ourselves to smile just because we have so much joy in our hearts that radiates out from us? Look, Eight of Swords, okay? Eight of Swords is coming out. This is the end of that mental interference, of the self-imposed limitations, right? Of our own restrictions, of our own resistance to just embracing that nobody's perfect. Perfection is a fucking illusion, okay? We live in this world right now where perfect bodies are idealized, where aging is demonized, where if you don't fit, the Hollywood, Bollywood models of body and mindset, and, oh, you don't have a house, or you don't have marriage, or you don't have a job that fits, the cookie cutter system, then all of a sudden you're like, ugly or abnormal or weird or, you know, whatever. Like, we get named and shamed and catcalled and all this stuff because we don't fit. You're not meant to fit in. You are the only you. Even if you've been in a different timeline, even if you've lived many lives, you are the only you in this here now, right? And so what, you know, these like mental bondages are coming from the external world, and it requires, you know, the energy of showing up daily. Okay, it's a daily practice to continue evolving. Love is a choice. Love is action. Love is choosing ourselves. Love is doing what's right even when nobody else is doing what's right. And that can be really tough if you're the only one who's doing that one thing, right? How can you trust yourself? But that's the growth. That's where that inner work comes, of looking deeper in self. 2, making that choice. I just talked about that. Like, we got to make those choices for ourselves. Am I going to embrace and love myself instead of saying, you're doing this, or you're doing that, or they're doing this, or he's doing that, or why are they doing this, or like, why is this happening to me? No, I am. Everything comes back to the I. And you can tell when somebody is really doing their inner work and standing in their truth and knows their worth, when they're able to speak about the world from the perspective of I. I perceive this. I see this. I do not understand this. I'm having a hard time accepting this, and yet this isn't my truth. This isn't my life. This isn't my journey, and that's okay. Last message, Page of Swords, cutting through the mental bullshit. Swords is the mental energy. Swords is fire. Page of Swords, look at that card, okay? It's just like cutting through it. This is what this Gemini full moon energy is doing. It's like cutting through these like weird distortions, okay? Because Gemini gets a bad rap, y'all, okay? Gemini gets a bad rap. When I was in college and I was studying psychology, I spent 3 years studying the mind of the serial killer. And I read some article somewhere that most of these serial killers have, you know, Gemini prominent placement. And that was the first time that I like heard about astrology, and like that research article that I read, and I gave it no mind, other than like I read that Gemini is, you know, are these like Jekyll and Hyde of the zodiac and blah blah blah, and it honestly like freaked me out because my mother's a Gemini. I was like, is my mother like a female psycho killer? Because they're actually even more dangerous than the man, you know, because there's so little of them. Anyway, it sent me down this rabbit hole, and I'm a Virgo, so you know, I'm also ruled by Gemini, so I also go into the mental loops of like, what's going on, need to analyze, need to process, need to think things, talk really fast. But then the more I started to understand and be curious, right? Thank you, Sag Moon. The more I started to realize that it's simply that duality, okay? That in our world today is demonized. Like, you can't even say the word sex on social media because you get shadow banned. You can't have cards on a YouTube channel that show like the bosoms of a fucking statue, okay? Why are we demonizing something that is so normal? Our bodies are normal. Our emotions, every single one is valid. It may not be necessary, but it's still valid. It's coming up for a reason. Your resistance, your fear, your anxiety, your stress, everything that's arising from within you has a message for you. And the more you approach that inner whatever's coming up with a place of curiosity, the more you're able to tap back into this energy of the sun of, okay, I don't necessarily like this, but I can still love me. I don't necessarily like that I have a meltdown when plans change last minute and my nervous system gets all like, oh my God, the plans have changed. Everybody panic. Everybody calm down. Yet I can accept that that's how I respond, right? And I can take the time to, okay, if the plans change last minute, how do I choose to react and respond, right? And that's a practice. That's why it's called a practice. It's not about perfection. It's about practice, because we are already perfect in our imperfectly perfect ways. We have been made in the image of life source creator itself with our own individuality. I mean, if there was one more of me, it would be boring. But because I am the only me, it makes life so exciting that I get to discover all these aspects about who I am in the mirror of relating with another. And I get to witness you in the discovery of yourself and how you choose to express yourself through the mirror of relating with me and in the witness of relating with others. So this Gemini full moon set the intention to embrace the seemingly dualistic natures of yourself. Because the more you're able to accept self, the more you're able to accept an outer. You don't have to accept it in your life. You don't have to like it. You can be like, all right, I want you to eat, just not at my table. That was an affirmation that I sat with for over 3 years while I worked through my people pleaser program, okay? I want you to eat, just not at my table. We can accept what is, not as our truth, simply for what it is, and choose to look at it and walk a different direction, right? We all got 24 hours in a day. How are we choosing to spend our time and our energy? How are we choosing to speak of ourselves? Law of mind is the first law of creation. Why? Because our thoughts are so incredibly powerful. Our thoughts are the alphabets. They're the building blocks of our everyday life, of every single moment. If you believe it, you can do it. There's a reason why all these like thought leaders around the world talk so much about the law of mind, myself included. I, talk a lot about the law of mind in my writings, in my teachings, in my content, in my poetry. I do a lot of wordplay. I do a lot of NLP, neuro-linguistic, natural language repatterning processing, because our thoughts are everything. And Gemini is all about our thoughts, our communication. We are not responsible for the actions and reactions of another. Sometimes, most times, we have no control over the world and the circumstances. The law of nature takes care of itself and only itself. And we are just participants for a short period of time in the expansive eternal now. Okay? So how are you choosing to act? Comes from a place of integrated awareness. Understanding is integrated awareness. And tarot is just a tool to help see self. Conversation with another is another tool. Okay? Anything external is a tool to gain deeper understanding, integrated understanding of ourselves. And the more we tap into ourselves, the greater capacity we have to hold space for another and their differences and challenges. And the more we're able to see when someone else is in dissonance and or acceptance. Why? Because we have cleared room within ourselves, and all of this energy of jealousy and confusion and tension and envy and anxiety, it's not there. You've cleared that out through the simple act of being curious and leaning into the discomfort of your differences. And our differences keep us humble. Thank you so much, Anna, for saying humble and grounded to the universe. Absolutely. Our differences, our quote unquote challenges, keep us humble. As somebody who's on the spectrum, I've had to sit, and I'm still sitting with, okay? I have days where I'm like, how can I call myself a spiritual leader if, like, I'm having these autistic moments? Like, why can't I just get my shit together and just be grounded all the time? Olive Drasmin, you're a fucking human. Calm down. Nobody's perfect. I have to have these talks with myself. I had a little autistic moment last week, and a friend was over and we were having a talk. It was a really difficult conversation, and I've done enough work to recognize when like the meltdown is on its way, but it took me a while. And I had an autistic moment and he took off. And I was like, okay, fine, bye. I can take care of myself. Okay, he was not able in the moment to accept the difference and challenge of myself for whatever reason. That's his prerogative. But for me, I was like, okay, I'm in this human body. I've been given this, nervous system, and it's wired a certain way. And I've spent many years in self-judgment and self-rejection. And right now I'm working on self-acceptance and unmasking. Wow, is that a topic that like starts opening a can of worms? Unmasking to ourselves? What are the lies and illusions we tell ourselves? These are falling away. I'm so excited, right? And it has to fall away. In order for us to evolve and grow, our self-imposed masks and limitations have to fall away. Okay? I made a post on my Facebook page last week of like, Acceptance is also seeing where we have self-rejected. Okay? It's easier. It's so much easier to say, oh, he didn't do this, or she didn't do this, or he didn't do that, or he didn't say that, or she didn't say that, or blah, blah, blah. He, she, he. It's a lot more difficult to say, I did not stand in my boundaries. I did not respect myself in the moment to walk away. I did not speak my truth. I didn't know any better, and that's okay, but I know better now, right? So, cut the shit. Cut the fucking shit, okay? Because the only person you're hurting is yourself, okay? The only person I've been hurting by not accepting myself is myself. And then I'm over here like, why am I so depressed? Well, the opposite of depression is expression. So start expressing yourself, even if it's just to the mirror, even if it's in your journal, even if it's your plants or your cat. Use your voice, use the power of your mind to voice the reality that you desire, because what you focus on will grow, right? What you pour water and energy and nourishment and time and words and effort and all this stuff into is what's going to grow. So are you going to grow the embracing of your dualistic natures? We all got them. We all got things that we don't want anyone to see, and that's okay. You don't have to post it on social media. You don't have to tell anyone except your inner circle, right? Posting shit on social media is an absolute choice. Social media is more often than not real life. I can't tell you how many times people reach out to me. They're like, oh, you think you're this and that because you post this on social media. I just laugh. Now I laugh, right? It's like social media is not real life. So take the time to see where you're self-rejecting, make those choices to cut the shit, and move forward into embracing how incredibly unique you are. And yes, you have challenges, and that's okay. We all got them, all right? Forgive your old self for not knowing what you know now. Abso-fucking-lutely. That's an excellent way to close out the Gemini full moon reading. Forgive your old self for not knowing what you know now, and make a commitment to put yourself first. Make a choice to embrace Daddy Saturn of discipline, which is actually your higher self, coming in to say, hey, Shanalee, hey, Anna, okay? Hey, Francis, hey, Olive Drasmin, hey, whoever you are. It's okay that you didn't know. It's okay that you've got strengths and weaknesses. It's okay if you're like really good at this one thing and you really suck at this other thing, no matter how hard you try. You're just amazing for who you are. Can you love yourself more? Can you speak of yourself with more love? Can you speak of yourself with more love? I'm going to leave you with that. Can you speak about yourself with just a little more love? Whew. Okay, so that was the energy channeled messages for the Gemini full moon. So let's take a couple breaths here and see what other blessing wants to come through this full moon. Okay, I'm feeling it. So light language blessing wishes to come through to support you with clearing away any resistance to embracing your duality as a sovereign, empowered oneness, and a cosmic boost to really anchor your unity consciousness in the human body that you are so blessed to temporarily rent. Digje mamungongwe andonje dangyone nanang rogja bango dangjene nangyo mangno rangjene nang dangyone mangon Dabjo dang diana gana roksha ding ding dang bo bagse din dishigian gongshini ago do room suktia gongiana knak rokshin damo. Amvoze yango kshiala raha kuksia tonkshene mako ela yento no husuti shama. Iela roshiti de gusutu tu ma kia tu raik sama ko tu shinema. Agnu no shutu tu ma rak shutu tu ma sautu shi kada wa. Yela hana kshe ta tu no hak sim fa ko tu shineme ka ena ha ea. Yena ha ese ta tu no sheme ke ela roshine ta ta tu yema ha sauti shia. Am hokoi papa su shineme ka au te rai ko to shinya ignina na ksote na kshan ko tu shina mako ema yana hak santo no kuro shine mako tu shine mako ta oine hasane ignina na ko tu shine mako ta oine na ksan tu shine mako awa yana hak shine mako oita na mako ai shine ko to na hatsae am hoke yana hak aita no shone ta ma hak so shudi tu hala am hasan ko shine ta rok ra rasho tu ma hasan ko shine ma ko am poe Sealing this clearing and this deeper integration of self in every cell, in every fiber, in every organ of your being for your most gentle unfolding and highest excellence. As you continue to dance with love, ease, and grace in this timeline, in this here now, for your highest unfolding for the benefit of all beings, and so it is. Okay.